Hello, welcome to FPLIQ. We are back. We are revitalized, reset, and ready to take on the blank and double game weeks, as well as the whole Salah, Son, Haaland situation. We are plannerless, though, today. Tien is in the chat, but I'm joined once again by Ryan, Football Chatbox, and teacher FPL Lucian. So, Ryan, we'll start with you. Did you enjoy your trip away? You're muted.
Okay, sorry. Let's start it again. It was good. Away from Australia, traveling about, but traveling while the most busy part of FPL season. Although started the new year with a lovely green, so that's always good. So yeah, overall pretty good.
Lucian, how are you doing, buddy?
I think over the last 3 weeks, I caught influenza and flus multiple times, and I'm just glad I have my voice today. My voice literally recovered this morning, and I'm just glad to be speaking to you guys literally.
Yeah, literally being able to have a chat with us. Yeah, like I had some health problems recently, but looking like we're on the end of it as we get into maybe the most exciting time of the season so far, with big players out for a couple of game weeks at least, and then the ones that we also brought in also out for a few game weeks as well. So we're going to start off by chatting about the Salah, Son, Haaland situation and what we're personally going to do with that and what we see. Why? I have potentially some controversial views, ones that some people seem to heavily agree, like Marmite. They heavily agree with it or heavily disagree with it. That's what it kind of feels like on Twitter. And then we'll talk about our first initial ideas in regards to potential double game week 25 and blank game week 29, potentially blank game week 26. We're not too sure at the moment, but just a general. You got to start to get early plans now before this gets set in motion, right? If you want to look at Man City players for a potential double game week, you can start looking now because then you'll know. Then we'll do a quick pick review. So just an announcement, our player picks, we do 4. We each get a position, a defender, midfielder, a forward, and a wild card, any pick. We've done it all season. We are still going to do that, but we're going to review it today because we've got 3 each to quickly go through. But we're going to move that all to shorts because we want to really focus on like hot topics, in-depth dives into teams and or players and matchups. And I think turning that into shorts just gives people short, snappy places. And also, if you're looking for example, a midfielder, Ryan might be doing a midfielder pick for that game week, and you can have a look at that. Sort of pinpoint the content that you want rather than us forcing you to watch all of it. We'll then go into matchups. We're looking at Brighton and Wolves. Can we trust Brighton are a rotation and clean sheets? Any Wolves players to potentially look at? Because we're if like me, potentially holding Salah and or Son. Are there any budget enablers that could help us with that match? And then the match itself. And then we're going to look at Newcastle and City. Can Newcastle bounce back from this form? And what is that issue on there? City players to look at, potential double game week coming up because they miss games because of the Cup. And the match itself. And finishing off on captaincy, which is, if Haaland is out, probably the most open captaincy for the entire season, because literally the 3 most popular players of the season for captaincy at least are out. But of course, if Haaland's back in, I'm sure people are going to just go straight and buy him and captain him. But at the moment, people are a little bit iffy on Haaland. So we'll start off with Ryan's views first. Talking already far too much. Hear what Ryan is first. We'll just, before we go on blanks and doubles and all that lot, what are you doing or what do you think about the Salah, Son, Haaland situation? What's your plans around?
Okay, so I'll start with saying I don't own Haaland. I sold him. Compared to I know some who still have him as well. I had Salah and Son. Salah has been sold. And I did an early transfer, which people say don't do, but I did. However, I am still safe because I did not go and buy a player who got injured. So I went and did Salah to Garnacho, Even though I dropped, I did still tell you a couple of weeks ago not to go and buy United attackers. Here I am. I've gone and bought a United attacker. But that's purely due to finances, because that was the most I could go and get to be able to then go and get Haaland. And the idea was to try and get Haaland in this week, thinking that he would be fit. Maybe he still might be. We don't know. But it was the only way for me to get Haaland in this week without having to take like a -8, which I didn't want to do. Because I could have still sold Son maybe this week for a -4 and then got Haaland in next week. So that would have kind of changed how I approached like my moves even last week, where I went for Bernardo Silva instead of Foden because of all the price problems. So Salah gone. For Garnacho, Son is still in my team, and I'm happy to keep him this week as well. Next week I'll probably reassess. We'll probably have 2 games played as well from both Egypt and South Korea as well, I think, in the Asia Cup. So we'll have a bit more idea of where they stand as well in terms of their groups. And then I'll see what I do with Son, whether I sell him, whether I keep him. All of that is completely up in the air for the moment. But for the moment, it's only Salah who's gone for the price sake. At least that's from my point of view. For those who have him, I'm still not sure whether you sell him or keep him.
And sorry, I missed what you don't have Haaland now. I don't think any of us do.
No.
What was your plan to get? What happens now if Pep says he's fit, he's ready to go,
Yes.
back in for Newcastle?
Back in for Newcastle. Okay, it'll depend on if we get a leak, if he's starting or not. If we get a leak, he's starting, I'll bring him in for a hit. And then when we come to captaincy, I'll tell you what I'll do in terms of captaincy with him. If we don't get a leak that he's not starting and he's only on the bench, then I will just skip it, thinking that he'll get only about 30 minutes maybe, and it's not worth it, and then reassess in 22.
Yeah, we are going to look at Newcastle's recent form, and it is really bad when we look at stats for that. But is it really worth, like, unless you genuinely get like a direct thing, like Haaland is fit, he is absolutely back, and is Pep ever going to do that? Is Pep really going to sit there and say Haaland 100% fit, match ready, he's starting? Yeah. You know, Christmas is already gone, right? Like, we're not going to get a late gift on that one.
It's the New Year's, and it's not even part of his resolution, to be
No,
honest with us.
to be honest, and give early team news, not going to happen. So I think it's one of them where if Haaland does play and Newcastle are like they have been in recent weeks, we just have to grin and bear it. And fair play to everyone who held him and goes and smashes it. I think bringing him in when he's still not even in squads, right? He wasn't in the FA Cup, like he wasn't even on the bench, right? And to sort of jump, even though he'll have like an extra week after that, to jump straight into the starting 11 just feels a little bit risky. Like Kevin De Bruyne has been eaten back in, and we still don't really know the full extent of Haaland's problem. It went from, oh my god, it's a stretch fracture, it's broken. It's like, no, it's just like a bruising. But you're not out for a month for a bruise, right? So still not 100% sure what is going on. It looks like he's back in training, but he was still left out of the last squad. So I think wait and see Haaland. I think unless we get the Pep news, that's my Haaland part. I'll just play Archer. I'm going to take a -4 with no news solid on Haaland. Lucien, what about you with Salah, Son, Haaland?
Well, I love aggressive moves. So I decisively sold Son last week, and this week itself, right before 21, I sold Salah because, well, Cole Palmer is my very likely captain's candidate. Even with any news that Haaland might start, because honestly, I am not optimistic about City against Newcastle in the first place. Just me. So I do not have Son, I do not have Salah, I do not have Haaland right now. Therefore, I have 11 million in the bank-ish to turn my base price Semenyo into Haaland at will. Yeah, I'm just positioning myself to attack. Really, after this game week, no more hits. It's no more hits. I'm done. So, no, really, I'm really done. Gotta rectify the season real quick. So, but either way, I'm just waiting. I do have plans to bring Salah back because I'm planning to upgrade Odegaard when that happens. But I have absolutely no plan for Son. I've tried tinkering my squad to fit Salah, Son, and Haaland. Even without Trent, nothing fits. And I'm just not happy with the squad. I can fit like a Palmer or Garnacho here and there. Just doesn't work. I'm just not happy with it. I'd rather have some 6.5s sitting around just to offset the Son score or something like that. Yeah, so it's okay. I'm cool with not having Son.
Is that because of your team value you can't get? Or have you got Trippier
No,
or too many expensive mid?
No, well, I've got Saka and Odegaard now. If I turn
That's why, yeah.
Odegaard into Salah, but in the end, if Odegaard turns into Salah, to own Son, Salah, and Haaland, you're gonna need like really good 5 million players everywhere, literally, right? I mean, I'm probably going to have Joao Pedro as my third forward. I'm gonna have Cole Palmer and Garnacho being my third and fourth midfielder on top of Salah and Son. For me, that trade-off does not seem worth it right now because of Man City potentially spreading the points between the likes of Foden, Alvarez. I mean, who knows, right? City have so much rest, and I fully expect them to blast the opposition away before Champions League football resumes.
So no plans for, but you've got plans for Salah and Haaland instantly. The money's there. Odegaard to Salah and Semenyo to Haaland, 2 moves, and that wouldn't take you any extra hits or anything, right? If you had 2 free transfers.
No, I mean, I'm assuming that Salah comes back 24 or 25, but either way, Trent is gonna go. And once Trent goes, I have a lot of money because everyone's gonna buy a Estupinian, myself included. So that extra 3 million, yeah, easy. Makes things really easy.
I've already done Trent but I do want to point out that he was my pick last week. I did it before all this happened. I already said that Estupinian was going to be my guy. So going to my plan then. I originally posted about this to say I was considering, and it was going to happen weeks ago, if I was going to sell Salah and or Son or both. And then when everything happened, I was like, okay, I'll sell Salah. But then I had Trent, and then it was going to be Trent could be my make way. But now the fact that I have no interest in the players, that it's going to take me so many moves and so many hits to take out, and so much money. Like, I can't afford, right? I can easily get the team I want and Salah, Son, and Haaland. If I sell one or both of them, I can't get them back without a wild card or massive hits. And I'll have to hit players out because of injuries and flags again. It's like every week I have 3 flags. And then I've got to hit them back in again. And I'm not a guy who's against hits, but when it's costing me like -8 to take them out and -8 to bring them in. And look, we're saying game week 24-25 is like the latest. It's 4 matches. What if they have a shock and get knocked out and they're back in game week 23? And then you got to either fuck it up and not have them. For me, I'd rather, instead of going into my bench, what's happened to me, right, is I've gone into my bench and then they've also been flagged. So I end up having like 6 flags in my squad. So I'm having to hit and sort it anyway. So I might as well just put Salah and Son on my bench and have 12 players, and then every move I make is just for my starting 11. I don't have to worry about anything else. I won't go into my bench. But also, people have to realize you can't have a great team every game week. So if I just go through a couple of game weeks with not an elite squad where like I'm playing a cheap defender instead of taking all these hits and bringing in a player that I don't even think is very good in FPL, like Pascal Gross or Phil Foden or Bruno Fernandes or Rashford, spending hits on players I don't believe in, I might as well just stick with what I've got and just throw out like Van Hecker alongside Estupinian for 3 decent fixtures and just take what I get and just rely on 10 players rather than squad full. I just don't see now the value, because I had Trent as my alternative and I was going to sell Salah. Trent's out injured. I was going to bring Bowen. He was the one that I wanted. I've had him before. I wanted him again, and he's out injured apparently for quite a while. So where do I take Son and Salah to? Now, Son, I think Spurs could blank. So if that becomes solid, if that becomes thing, then I'll next week potentially sell Son for someone, because if he's not here and he's gonna blank, then point. But I just think that even if they're back in game week 25, I can deal with free transfers and my team, and I'm quite happy with it. 4-3-3 with players that are half decent, and yeah, I'm playing one cheap 4.3 million or less defender, but I don't have to take any hits, and I'm happy with the team as a whole, and I'll just hope for a clean sheet for the cheap defender and be happy days. I just don't see the people I've posted recently that it's like they're wearing rose-tinted glasses, either persuaded by content creators, because you guys might have seen so many articles and things. Best replacements, use these guys. You would never have looked at those players or wanted those players if it wasn't for Son and Salah. We've all got Palmer, right? We've got players in our side. We've all got my team's a bit weird because I've still got like Diaby and I've got Bernardo Silva, but a lot have got like Phil Foden. A lot of people got the same. So they just feels like they're trying to persuade themselves that this is the good move. Oh yeah, I brought in Saka. Oh, I brought in Pascal. Oh, I brought in Phil. Yeah, look at his. You would, if Salah and Son were still here, you wouldn't even glance at them. You'd be like, oh, if I'd have told everyone 4 weeks ago that you're getting Pascal Gross in, they'd have been like, oh, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not bringing him in. Maybe Lucien would, because he'll have seen something in a game. But most people would have been just like, even Phil Foden, he's been there all season. Everyone's like, Julian Alvarez, oh, he's amazing. Get Julian. Even Doku, he's doing real. And now suddenly, 2 weeks ago, Phil Foden's the man because he did a job against Everton. But the other 15, 16, 17 game weeks, no one cared. No one wanted him. He's been there all along. What changed? He's played in midfield like he has been all along, but then suddenly people are just convincing themselves that these are good replacements. And I just think it might end up being a differential that if in game week 24 they're all back and I'm there with Salah, Son and Haaland. And if not, then so be it. They'll be back when they're back. I'd rather just focus on my 11. And people are so tied up with value and think, oh, I've got 10 million in the bank. I have to spend it. It's a waste. It's a waste. Not a waste. Palmer's 5.5 million and we're all sat here probably captaining this week. People think so much about money for a player. Like Solanke is, I got it at 6.5. What is Solanke? 7.1. Who cares about the money? Doesn't matter. If the point potential's there, you bring them in. If that means, oh, I love my team, these players are really good, I've got 9.7 million in the bank, then just let it be in the bank. You don't have to spend it. But yeah, anyway, that's the idea of keeping Son and Salah. And it's not the first time I mentioned it to you guys. Even before all these injuries, I posted in our group chat that I'm still having second thoughts about selling Son or Salah. And then I went and got Trent because I followed the herd and I shouldn't have done it because I've been vocal about Trent not keeping up those numbers and I brought him in and what is it? 0 point and 1 point or something in the last couple of games. So I just think people are persuading themselves. In terms of, then we'll go on to chips then. So are we going to go on the basis that 25 is the double and maybe a blank in 26 and a blank in 29? Ryan, what are your...
I can provide the caveats.
Okay, go on.
Would you like me to provide the caveats before we do that?
Sure.
Yeah, because, okay, so because you've mentioned Spurs might blank. So just to summarize, long story short, so that I don't sound like a content creator, right? Liverpool are the team in focus because they are the ones likely to make it through to both the EFL Cup final as well as the FA Cup 6th round. And therefore, they will blank in 26. Now, this also means that that very game that has lost in 26 should move to 25. And that's why they have a double/blank combo coming up. Now, for Chelsea's case, it is literally the same. If They can beat Middlesbrough, duh. But the tricky bit is that they play Aston Villa in the FA Cup. That's the tough one. So right now, I think most of us would agree that Villa are the favourites against Chelsea. So yeah, if Villa beat Chelsea, then Chelsea don't have that same blank double, and therefore Spurs also wouldn't have that blank double in 26. So that's where we are. So as it stands, I'm assuming that Villa beat Chelsea in the FA Cup.
Is Chelsea at home
That's
though?
yes, it's gonna be at Stamford Bridge. Yes, but still,
Yes.
I still fully believe that based on strength alone, Villa are going to beat Chelsea. So we are discussing purely on the basis of Liverpool's double game week / blank. But for Chelsea, I think we probably have to do like, if Chelsea have a blank double, what do we do? If Chelsea don't have a blank double, what do we do? Then we can begin here.
The other thing to add to that is let's say Chelsea do progress past Villa. Because their opponents in 26 is what, Spurs, right? So you're assuming that Spurs and Chelsea could both double in 25. The thing is, both of them are not in Europe, so there's no need to hurry and push their fixture here, whereas you can put their fixture somewhere else. Compared to where Liverpool, because of the fact that they're in Europa League, that extra round and all of that counts, and that means that there's only few spots where you can put Liverpool's game, which is why Liverpool's game kinda has to go into 25. But City, on the other hand, that can be a different one as well. City are playing Spurs. Who knows? We're talking about City double game week 25. They could very well not have one. So we kind of have to wait and see in terms of that. But I think right now everything is up in the air. But yeah, Rob, whatever the question you were going to ask.
Okay, so just on the basis of that, what are your current chip plans
Oh,
for
dear.
Lost Rob.
transfer?
Oh no,
Me too.
We lost you, Rob.
Hello? Oh.
Good. I'm just gonna log into the live stream
Hello?
and see if I hear.
No. Oh, I am on Discord.
In terms of that, but I think.
Oh, lag. I'm like 30
Okay.
seconds behind.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Ah, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, we've got you back.
I don't know why I did that. I didn't press
Okay.
anything, I swear. So yeah, just my question was based on the thesis or the ideas and thinking of where we're going to play our chips or potential transfer plan. What are your current thoughts and ideas and thinking about the
To be honest,
up to game week 30, 31, because that's when we might pull the second wild card.
to be honest, right now I have no idea what chip I want to play where, and I feel like I won't know until at least we head just before game week 22, which is when round 4 of the FA Cup fixtures are done, and the draw will also be done. So we'll have a bit more better idea of like which teams are playing which teams in the FA Cup for round 5 to try and guess what will happen for the blank in 29 and the blank in 26. So I'm honestly no clue where. I think rough idea of a wild card will potentially be game week 30, 31 is what people are saying, with the nice fixture swings to some of the stronger teams. So probably around there, but then again, it all depends on how the blanks and doubles and all line up. But I think wildcard generally people target a fixture swing rather than fully focused on blanks and doubles. So most likely that's where I'm playing it. Chips, on the other hand, free hit I think can be possibly played in multiple different games. You can play it in 29, which will most likely be the biggest blank. People are saying you could play it in 25. If, let's say, for example, we get the Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, City all Dublin, then you have a good case to make to actually play it in 25. You could also potentially play it in, I think the next two doubles that I mentioned are 34 and 37. So you could you could realistically wildcard 31 or something, bench boost 34 and free hit 37. So you can build up a wildcard squad to target 34 doubles and then free hit in 37, something like that. Or you could even reverse swap your chips there. So I don't know. It depends completely. You could even play a bench boost in 25. Actually, one thing that people are not really, or should probably mention more compared to the free hit, is your triple captain. That could be a significant case to play a triple captain in 25 if Haaland gets the fixtures he gets and Salah also gets the fixtures they get. Because I don't think they'll get better fixtures later down the line.
Yeah.
So I'm completely up in there, to be honest.
So I don't have bench boost. I played it in game week 1. So So I'm leaning basically triple captain and free hit between the two. So 25 triple captain and 37 free hit for the doubles, or 37 triple captain and 25 free hit. But I mean, I'll already have like two. I'll have like one or two Chelsea and Liverpool and so on. Like, I don't know if I'll free hit because I'll have enough in an 11 that I won't need to free hit just for one or two more double game week players. And I love the idea of dead ending team. So if 29, apparently it's not going to be as big a blank as we think it's going to be.
Yeah, because of how the FA Cup fixtures
The
happened
drawn,
for
yeah.
round, the draw.
So
Yeah.
I'm not adverse to like dead ending and using my transfers for players for 29 and then wildcarding in 30 to free hit and triple captain. I think that's the plan.
Yeah, might follow a similar situation.
It's always a discussion point when people say you should use a free hit to defend or a free hit to attack, but it's always squad dependent, because I've had it where a double game week I'm absolutely stacked, and then the blank game week I've got like 2 players and there's only 3 games on, but I'll free hit because everyone else will have like 4 players and I'll still have 11. But then equally people will say, no, attack a double game week and have a full 11 all double in, everyone else doesn't, and just deal with 7 players in a blank. The way that the blank might not be that big this year, that might be the argument to attack a double game week. And I always do like the wild card to bench boost combo. If this is, I won't go into all the reasons again why bench boosting game week 1, but this is always an issue where you're gonna have to wild card close to the bench boost, but then you're stuck with those players. You're gonna have value stuck on your bench unless you get some real cheap option. And they're going to be basically stuck on your bench for the rest of the season, because you'll only be, if you bench boost after your second wildcard, there's going to be a maximum of 7 game weeks left. And if you bench boost in 34, there's only 4 game weeks left. And if you bench boost in 37, there's only 1 game week left. So you're going to have value on your bench, and you're going to be stuck with players that were great for the double, but the fixtures after that might be awful. But then you're stuck with them. I think that the simple plan so far is like a free hit or triple captain in one of the doubles, deal with the blank, or use the free hit during. But it all depends. You need to go on a planner and in a couple of game weeks and just see like how many players am I going to have for that blank. But so we don't know the answer to that right now, but we have to start thinking about it early. Lucian, what are your? Oh, go on, Ryan.
One thing to add is, again, it's completely squad dependent, because if Chelsea get their blanket 26, a lot of us have like the likes of Palmer, Son, Pedro Porro, and then Liverpool also blank. People have Trent and Salah, and then you've got like too many holes in your team after that point. So then there also you might have to play a free hit. But yeah, again, squad dependent.
Lucian, what are you thinking then?
Well, I'm gonna rip the band-aid open and first and foremost say that I am not at all interested, no matter who doubles or blanks in 25 and 26. No bearings on my chips. Simply because, number one, I have every single plan to sell TAA and Salah, which I have already done half of. And secondly, I don't feel that, unless Egypt, for some weird reason, gets knocked out in the group stages, I absolutely do not feel that there's a need to play any particular chip. I recall playing my triple captain chip last season when Liverpool had that blank and then the double in 26, where they played Leeds and Norwich, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was it. That was it. Because they had everything literally going for them, focused at Salah, creating chances at will. So I think in that sense, I do not see that happening here at all, even if Chelsea get a blank. So really, it's just about surviving the potential blanks, and which is why I've been selling Liverpool so aggressively. Because if you think about it, right, Liverpool without Salah is going to spread their chances and their shots all over the front 6, whatever have you. So I have no reason to want to go through the high blood pressure periods of triple captaining Darwin or something. Oh my gosh. No, never. Right? Tien probably is like coughing blood somewhere right now. But yeah. Otherwise, I'm saving all my chips for the big ones. I mean, we can assess how big or small double game weeks potentially will be. But in the end, as Rob said, right, we will never ever gravitate from the core 25 players that are virtually undroppable, even if they have bad stats like Bukayo Saka or something. And that's just part of FPL. So really, when you play your chips, not only you are asking whether you can assemble 15 doublers, right, for your bench boost, you're also asking yourself, if I did not assemble 15 doublers, who would everyone be having? What extra players am I getting? Like, it's not even about like moving value all over the place. Yeah, okay, we've got quite a lot of 4 million defenders and 4.5 million midfielders that can play pretty well. Hinshaw Wood nowadays is a pretty good example. But really, as somebody who has played chips purely to attack non-stop, it is, number one, extremely easy to plan for blanks. Extremely easy. The extra 2 to 3 players are very rarely worth it. Secondly, like, the whole wildcard into bench boosting is almost certainly a myth. Yeah, I think people doing that do not give themselves any margin for error, especially in that period, right? Because usually when we do that whole wildcard bench boost trick, it's like either 33, 34 or 36, 37. Information from 33 will never give us full information about 34 because it's like the Champions League semi-finals and some teams might already be relegated. So we can't take advantage of this and that. And then you've got 36 and 37, which throws lineups into even more mystery. So I always feel that if you're going to wildcard into a bench boost, you've got to wildcard like 2 to 3 weeks early so that you have 2 free transfers. Then you take like a -4 to buy the actual bench boost guys you want with 3 free transfers or something like that. But yeah, I mean, more on that later, but that's the idea of me using my chips to attack double game weeks. Yeah, I'll just leave it there.
I think 36 and 37 as well. It's just so late for a wild card. It's one of the, like, even this season when people were wild carding like game week 7 and game week 8 and people saved it till like 10. It just feels like that is so late that the peak advantage you get is so against people who wildcard in like 30, 31, 32. It just feels far too late to reap the rewards from it wild. The only thing I'm interested here, Lucian, is you're not considering a chip for the double, but are you not worried here a little bit about quality and quantity? Now, I've played quality single game week play against players of lesser caliber in a double game week. Because sometimes you just see double and eyes light up, whereas like, Salah might have one game at home to Burnley, and I'd rather have him compared to a Wolves defender away to City and at home to Newcastle, right? But the thing is, in game week 25, the teams that could double are really good, but you're selling them. So you're not just not going to play a chip. You're not going to have the players for that. Are you not going to be persuaded, or are you just going to? Because again, the double in 37 or whatever, you've just said it yourself. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen. Teams might be up or down by that point. That might be Man City might have won the league by 20 points, and they're playing the kids for the last couple of games because we're in the Champions League final. Teams are on the beach. Every year you have that thing that I do. Teams on the beach, right? But if we already know, like, Liverpool, incredibly popular FPL team. Man City, incredible. Even Chelsea, some of the players like Nkunku, right? He's flavouring them up. People have been excited, and he's looking pretty sharp. Now he's fit. Are you not worried that, I know it's not many teams, but not just using a chip, but the fact that you won't have any players from those, that not something that you're considering? Or?
Not for this 25 period. Like, if Trent's injured and Salah is unavailable, I don't want anybody from Liverpool
Why do
for
you
a
think
double game week
Salah's
25.
not available in 25? I thought he's definitely back for 25 at the latest.
He will be, unless they win.
He's back for 25.
Yeah.
Unless he stays for
Okay,
some random parade.
Yeah, if they win, the chances are low. The possibilities that they go to the quarters and get knocked out.
Yeah.
But
Well,
even if he wins,
okay.
he'll be back for 20.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
then in that case, I'll definitely have him for 25. Yeah, that's a given. Yeah, if Salah's back for 25 easily. I mean, and I've already told you my plan to bring him back in 25.
What about
So
like odds of doublers like Chelsea and City? You not interested? Just you've got Palmer, right?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've only got Parma and Poro, and I'm keeping it that way. I'm not planning to buy any more Chelsea or Spurs. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just wanted to put the argument like quality doubles over. People always just see double game week and they'll play a Brighton 4 million defender because they've got a double instead of like Cole Palmer at home to Fulham like he is this week. And it's like, is that double better really than single game week? All right, so a quick roundup. Just by the way, on all the stats and stuff and the screenshots I post is from Fantasy Football Scout. We're not sponsored by them or anything like that, but I just think it's polite to say that I get my stats from there. I'm not stealing it. I'm not trying to take credit. I get it from Fantasy. And the thing that's been on the screen for a while, and I forgot to put it up when I talked about how I don't really want to replace Salah and Son. There's no midfielders that I care about, things like that. That list is the last 5 game weeks, and all the stats I'm going to post on the screen the last 5 game weeks for non-pen XGI in order. But you can just see, Saka's right up there, but I've been pretty wax lyrical against Saka. I don't think he's worth it. Pascal's there in third. I've already got Palmer. Richarlison just has like 1 shot, 1 goal every game at the minute. Elise, not bothered about Palace. Erdegaard, not bothered. Garnacho could get him for. Anyway, that's on there if you zoom in and can see it. But that was for the argument earlier. We are just going to quickly wrap up player picks. We've got 3. Game weeks 15, 16, 17, 18. Game weeks 16, 17, 18, 19, and game weeks 17, 18. So for me, Isaac 2201, Everton Spurs, Fulham didn't play, and Luton. I literally picked Isaac the game week Newcastle went down the pan. Like game week 15 is when Newcastle went down a bad spiral, and that's so that was a perfect example of when not to pick a player. I picked a Newcastle player prime for when they turned to. The next one for me was Sterling, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that was Everton, 1 point, Sheffield United, 6, Wolves, 4, and Palace didn't play. We got 2 assists in 3 games. Too bad, but it looks like he's dropped now. Not started the last 2. And then Porro, 17, 18, 19, 20, 8, 2, 5, 2 against Forest, Everton, Brighton, and Bournemouth. He's still a great pick. Maybe not ideal for clean sheets, but who is good for clean sheets in FPL recently? I've got Porro. I think he's really great, and I don't see myself selling unless there's issue like a big injury. Parents get kidnapped. Game week, so easy thing. All this. So I don't know. I think Isaac is probably red. Sterling is red to yellow. Drop now. I think Porro is a green. Because I think Porro's. Ryan, you seen any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think all of our Newcastle picks might as well just put it as red right now.
Yeah. We can sit here and say we didn't expect it, but let's be honest, we've been thinking they're looking a bit tired and a bit shaky before we picked those players. I think we just had a bit too much open faith. Lucian, any thoughts about those? Isaac, Sterling, Porro?
I mean, to be fair, we were all just trying to jump on the 3 game weeks, right? Where it was Fulham, Luton, and somebody, right? 3 good game weeks in a row. Forest, yes. So really, we were just like trying to pick players, hoping they deliver against easy fixtures. And yeah, injuries are injuries. for me, the only thing I disagree with is the fact that I think with Alexander Isak, it's always an "I told you so" when you buy a player that doesn't guarantee you 90 minutes. So, but beyond that, yeah, Sterling and Porro, yeah, Porro's great. I have him too. Yeah. I do feel that all these picks right now are just watching Tien flex, even when he's not here. We just, Tien's just like with arms crossed. But I would love to give credit to Ryan when we go through his picks later too. I'm like, yes, I'm so glad Ryan's picks are doing well too. Let's go through those picks.
Well, we'll go through Tien's now because he started with Porro and he got 5-5-8-2, 20 points. There you go, Tien. Well, Gordon the week after, so he got the Newcastle player who did something, but 2-6-2-1 Newcastle just. And he said himself it's a red. Gabriel Jesus 9-2-1-1. He's giving himself a red pick for that as well. Got a goal against Brighton, but then nothing against benched again. Get over for TN. Find out what his pick is. If you check our shorts out, we'll be doing them before the game week deadline. I think it's tomorrow late night for us / Saturday very early morning. So for anyone in the Asian Oceania part of the world, our deadline is Friday. Like it's Saturday very early morning, but by that I mean Friday night. Is it what, like 3 o'clock in the morning for guys in Australia, or 4?
Yes.
2, or...
It's 5:15 deadline.
AM, and it's 2:15
Yeah.
AM for Taiwan, Malaysia.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
2:15.
yeah. Heads up about the. So we'll go on to Ryan's picks then, because he has, well, he has had a stormer, but he's only had 2 plays. So go on, who have you gone, Ryan?
So I went Sun the first time for 2-17-2-7. Then I went Isak after that, which is, I'll tell you now, it's a red pick. But I did go and compare because, we always or at least I always complain every time I get a forward pick and I'm like, forwards are shit. And I did go and compare, and you were like, unless you had Solanke or Chris Wood or Joao Pedro for that one game he played Spurs, almost every other forward was just shit. Like they were just getting bare bone returns in those their specific 4-game week period. And then I went and got Sun back again for my pick after, which was 2-7-5-9, so 23 points there. So Sun, yes, Isak, he can be benched along with every other forward in the game.
So that's it. Everyone's selling Salah and Son, and then Son's there. Last tweet, like all these other options, like people are going to be begging for Salah and Son. None of these other players on this list lace the FPL boot. Legends. So Lucian, your picks.
All right. Well, wildcard, right? The very first shot. And the very first ever, probably the only ever goalkeeper pick this season.
Any player in the entire game he could have chosen.
I'm just glad Dubravka got 1 clean sheet out of 4. But I think by now, people who follow FPLIQ know how to use my picks. Because, right? So for people who are unaccustomed to what I say, players that I bring up will deliver typically 4 to 5 weeks later. That's the trend. So, Dubravka had this 1 clean sheet in 4, which will, to be honest, I said in that shot the week I mentioned him, he helps tie you over while Areola's, coming back from whatever he was suffering from. So, if you had Dubravka for the 1 clean sheet out of 3 in that period, job done. And now Areola's back, everyone's happy, and then, Dubravka's just another 3.9 goalkeeper sitting on your bench, hunky-dory. But Trippier, this is the last time I will ever make a safe pick. This is I even said, right, I picked Trippier because I didn't like any other defenders and Newcastle, and man, I'm never picking safe. I'm going to just stick to my principles and guys, I'm the eye test guy. You guys trust me. I'm the eye test guy. Right? But just wait 4 weeks,
Such
as my... Yeah. So I can't say the same about Mudryk though. I think Mudryk is like, the off the cliff pick. Because yes, it's true that he got a goal against Everton, was it? But yeah, I mean, all the while, right? It's just one of those picks where he gets like one return in like 8 games, and that's the status of Mudryk and Chelsea in general, right? They look good, maybe one game in 8, and that's about it. That's how Chelsea roll. So I'm not hopeful for reviewing my pick for next week because Nkunku, once again started brightly, but we'll have to wait for him to come back from his injury to see what he's really made of. But yeah, that's another story for another day. So yes, I'm happily giving myself reds because I feel like I should be assessing these picks like 4 weeks after they come back, not now.
I've just realised who my player is for next week. Armour.
Oh yeah. He's already giving himself a green.
I'm giving it a time. I'll do next week's pick now, guys. It's green. But then after that, I went for Gabriel Jesus, and I'm purely blaming Tien for that because we were doing the whole copying Tien's pick thing. So I was just like, forwards, they're all rubbish. I'm going Gabriel Jesus. So yeah, but next week's. Well, we're on shorts from next week, anyways. We can review and then give a pick. But yeah, Armour was. I'd shoehorn that in before we go to shorts.
If Lucian went 2 weeks later on Dubravka, you would have looked like an absolute genius. 7-3-2-8. You would have been like, whoa, 20 points from a goalkeeper.
Man.
But here's the thing. It's the same week that Areola got 11. So Dubravka's clean sheet is on my bench because I've got 11 points from Areola.
Unless you bench boosted like Tien, he's just like...
Oh man, can't wait for him to come back to flex on us with his bench boost. Cannot wait for that.
Just get both goalkeeper.
Dubravka didn't get a clean sheet. Okay, yeah, sure.
Penalty save.
I thought he did for him.
No, it's a penalty save.
Oh, yeah. But the points were there. That's why I was getting confused.
Yeah.
Oh wow. All right. So let's move on then to matchups. At the minute, so all these predicted lineups are very early done on Fantasy Football Scout. Of course, they can change. I am going to be looking at Van Hecker, by the way, because I need a 4.3 million or less defender. And with the run that they've got, I'll just get him for 4 million, stick him in for a few weeks. I originally liked the idea of Braithwaite at Everton, but I don't know how nailed Van Hecker is. But I had a look, and he's played 90 minutes for the last he could be my -4 and I play Archer, and then that's the only hit I have to take. Anyway, can we trust Brighton again with rotation and cheats? So I've already brought in Estupinian for that attacking threat. I know he's more like a left centre back, and he scored a few streamers, but I still think he's a player that'll find his getting forward. And I've literally said I'm madly thinking of getting Van Hecker for my side for pure value, and the fixture's coming up. Because I'm not selling Son and Salah. So I need a cheap defender. I think rotation is an issue usually when there's fixtures, but the fact that the fixtures are now spread out and there's no one to rotate to, they're having it's like Chelsea, Newcastle, and Brighton just have really bad injury situations. That there's no one that you're worried about getting rotated. So the key players that you're looking at. So I know people are looking at Pascal Gross, even a cheap Inselwood. I know Pedro, Ferguson, and Welbeck are all fit, but they need to play. It's only Lallana's that's going to be the party pooper there if you're a Pedro, Ferguson, or maybe not Welbeck fan, but Ferguson and Pedro.
Buonanotte. There's Buonanotte in the mix as well.
But someone's got to go on the wing. Because Matoma's out, March is out, Adringa's out, and Fatty's out. So someone's got to go on the wing. So
no, they just have no wingers. They don't play any wingers. They just play 4-3-2.
Well, they need a player. Like they still need a player in there. That's my point. Like in the side that's being predicted, Welbeck and Pedro and Gross are all in there. Just Ferguson's not. So maybe stay away from Ferguson. But in terms of the midfielders and the defenders, Veltman's out. Lamptey's out, like who else is going to play? So the usual rotation issue, fixtures aren't a problem, so they don't need the big rest because of games this month. And the players that you're looking at, they can't get rotated at because everyone else is injured. So I think that should ease some people feelings about that. Yes, they got finally a clean sheet against Ham, but I'm still not sold on that defense because I know, Lucian, you looked into how Stoke was sort of exploiting Estepinian, was it, in that game?
Oh yes,
And
absolutely.
They conceded
Absolutely,
two goals against Stoke. So I know that's why I said I'm madly thinking about Van Hecker, but he's a 4 million starting defender. We're not bringing him in because I think he's going to get 6 points. Yeah. Anyway, so Lucian, we'll move over to you then. Can we trust Brighton again with performances and any worries about rotation?
Right. So, okay. So the thing about Brighton, right, is that yes, I think nobody playing FPL would ever doubt their ability as a team, set of players that have the capability of getting points at any given time. It's just more about trying to understand whether you'd like to do what everyone else is doing or whether you want to be ahead of the curve. Because I strongly believe that number one, TAA to Estupinian is going to be a move not only you will be making, Rob. Yeah, there will be a lot of people making this particular move, and really it's just to set up Haaland's return. People are just looking for excuses to like make funds so that they can afford like whoever they want. Because like I think in terms of the EO situation right now, right? People own Salah, Son, maybe Haaland, and then TAA. That's really popular, right? That combo of 3 premium players. And the tendency is to either sell TAA for Estupinian, which is very obvious, or you sell one of Son or Salah for gross. So, you're asking yourself, do you want to be later than them because Wolves aren't necessarily an easy fixture? Or do you want to match people? Do you want to match people and go forth with whatever you want to do with the money? So it's really a case of tempo, and I wouldn't even say it's team dependent. I'd say it's mentality dependent. If you want to attack the template, Brighton's the template right now. It's just a matter of which part of the template you want to attack. Some content creators have saved 2 free transfers just for this very moment. And, they're probably going to get both Brighton players. So, like, your move, guys, right? I mean, I address this to the audience, not to us. So I do feel that, yeah, Brighton, whether they are good or not, are going to be good. It's just a matter of when they come good. I think the only thing here is, at least especially as a Wolves fan, history always plays on my mind when we play Brighton. We somehow capitulate against whoever Brighton put out, with or without Mitoma, with or without anybody at all. Yeah, and for me, the only situation, at least what I've observed from the Brighton games, right, is that yes, Gross is only popular because he gets 90 minutes. Gross is only popular because he gets 90 minutes. Like, if Mitoma and March were fit, Gross wouldn't even be part of the conversation. So, right now, the only reason we're talking about Lallana and Ferguson and whoever it is, that Brighton play up front is because, like, they have this system, right, where 2 forwards as a pair rotate with the other 2 forwards. Ferguson and Lallana rotate with Buonanotte and Welbeck. They literally sub off for each other in pairs. And that's how they work. They have so many central midfielders. For all the wingers that are injured, they have so many central midfielders, from Gilmore to Baleba to James Milner, and any of these central midfielders at any given time can push out to the wing and suddenly become a fullback. That's how Brighton roll right now. Yeah, so I'd love for Joao Pedro to become relevant again. But for me, I'll wait. I'm happy to wait.
You were all against him. I saw you all. You laughed at me when I've had him twice this season. I've owned him twice. I sold him and I bought him back. You all laughed at me. Well, who's laughing now? You all want the JP in the side. I'm telling you. Ryan, can we trust Brighton again to perform? rotation clean sheet issues. What are your thoughts on Brighton?
I will maintain the fact that fixtures are king and fixtures breed form. So I guess with a good set of fixtures, you got to hope that they can actually get on a winning run and go on a winning run. But Wolves are probably not the easiest team to start with, I would say. From an FPL point of view, I think Estupinan is a great player to get in. Obviously, with Trent injured, Trippier not performing, a lot of people are looking to try and get rid of them and find a defender with good fixtures and attacking. I think Estupinan could fit that. And like when we owned Estupinan at the start, we owned him for his attacking returns, not really his defensive returns as well. And he's got 2 goals now in the last couple of weeks. So showing that he can get those attacking returns. Now, will they continue the clean sheets? Maybe that is yet to see. Just because they've kept one doesn't mean they're going to continue to keep more. From an attacking point of view, I guess Joe Pedro has been mentioned, but Pascal Gross tends to always like slowly tick over every season. He's not that explosive player, and he's also not always like a consistent returner. He'll get like occasional points here and there. But I think Estupinan is the one that I mainly like from that pick. But like you said, with the injuries and everything, they're probably not going to rotate as much. So while I guess that option is there, you can probably go for those players. The question is, I think midfield and forward spots will heavily depend on if you leave it even more late. I think you're likely not going to get them because of the fact that chips and blanks and doubles will start dictating which players you end up going and getting. So this might be like that early time where if you do go and get them, you get them now. Otherwise, you probably don't get them later. At least from the midfield and forward. Defenders, I think Estupinan still you can get him next week as well, potentially. That's where I stand with Brighton.
Yeah, the fixtures are just so good to 29. Brighton are a good team. I know that they've been a little bit up and down, mainly due to starting 11. We're not talking about bench play, Marchant, absolutely. The fixtures are just so good. Like, I know Spurs away in 24 isn't great, but they're gonna have Wolves, Luton, Palace, Sheffield, Everton. That is throw Burnley in there, and you've got bingo. Like, it's great when the fixtures for the price that they are, just not a big gamble. You know, like Van Hecker for 4 million, even if he's on your bench and nothing. I had Lascelles for when he was relevant, right? Did a great job for me. He played until, and I'm not selling him yet because chances are Shah and Botman will get another injury. I just think you can trust him because the risk isn't really. But we'll go on then to, are there any Wolves players that will look at fixtures a little bit hit and miss? I think Neto's always an option for 5.0 million. If in the past, you guys know I had like a little and large striker. I had Haaland and Solanke. I had like a big, expensive and cheap striker. Someone who needed a cheap third one. Cunha is not a terrible option if you don't have 3 strikers. I do feel like Haaland, Watkins, and Solanke is the front line. My front line. At least Solanke. Just his finishing's a bit. And I can't say Han Hee-chan because he's away, but he's not back till maybe like game week 25. But he would be in conversation. So I wouldn't really be choosing any defenders because I think the fixtures, the fixtures that Wolves have are not against teams that should smash them, but they're also not easy games for Wolves. Like they all feel like they're quite tight games. So I think you could potentially go or if you're looking at, but wouldn't be diving. We'll go to Ryan and then we'll finish with Lucian. Ryan, anyone? Oh, I think you've got the same as me. Who are you?
Yeah. So Neto and Cunha. I know my from my channel, my panel mate he's had Cunha for I think the last 6 or 7 something game weeks, and he's been ticking over slowly getting him points. Last week got him a 12-pointer. He's catching up on the mini leagues and all of that. So I think Cunha is like a really good I'll put him good fourth striker, assuming Haaland is back. So it depends on who you have in the front three. I think Cunha can be that either third striker or even the third striker, depending on who your front three is, whether it's a Watkins, Solanke, and Haaland, or Watkins, Haaland, Cunha, or even Watkins, Solanke, Cunha right now as well. So it depends on how, but I think he's a good option. Now, like you mentioned, the fixtures for the next 5 aren't great, but they're all teams that Wolves can score against, because all those teams don't have the best of defenses. And having said that, they're playing United and Brentford at home as well, and Wolves have a pretty good record at home recently. So I think he's good. Neto is another player who's a good option as well. And an enabler for anyone who's looking for like Salah replacements and wanting to get to Haaland somehow. Neto is another good enabler. But that's it.
Okay, so Lucian, we'll look at the team now, and might even himself or
So, I'm going to leave the deep dive into Wolves for last because, frankly, nobody cares. Some days I don't even care because, really, I maintain my stance from the game week 1 itself. You ask me, what is Gary O'Neill's managerial style? How he wins games? I still don't know. No Wolves fan knows. You can look it up on any forum, literally. Nobody knows what is the Gary O'Neill trademark style, even when he was in charge of Bournemouth. There is no transparent philosophy nor tactical competitive advantage he brings to a side. For now. That being said, Wolves are only appealing right now because of the landscape that FPL provided, at least compared to Game Week 1. In Game Week 1, Wolves were basically unattractive, not because of their boss changing, but because in that price bracket, especially when we considered the likes of Huang or Neto, right, when they were like five something million, they were competing against the 6.5 million bracket. Brighton were more popular. Mbeumo, all these teams that had one 6.5 million midfielder that looked extremely attractive, right? We all gravitated towards Mbeumo, Eze, Diaby, Mitoma, right? There were so many options at 6.5 million or below. They're all gone now. They're all gone. Like, some of them injured, some of them just not working. Some of them don't even have 90 minutes guaranteed, right? Rob owns one of them. So as it stands, Wolves assets in general just have that combination of 90 minutes guaranteed with somehow some sort of attacking threat that delivers regardless of tactics, regardless of injuries to their squad. Lemina could be out, suspended. Yeah, they score goals. Joel Gomez is going to be unavailable for the next 2 games because he got suspended against Brentford in the FA Cup, and they'll probably score. And, if I told you that Neto wasn't involved, I think nobody would be that surprised. Because it's not like we've been relying on Neto power over the last few game weeks. Yeah, it's been a combination of decent counter pressing with synergy from midfield and Pablo Sarabia suddenly popping up out of nowhere. I cannot even tell you how Wolves will win games over the next few weeks. Now I understand how Everton fans feel. So, in terms of using Wolves as an FPL asset, I maintain my strategy from the Game Week 8 wildcard that I played like way earlier in the season. And Pedro Neto at the time was my 8th attacker because I went for a Haaland-less strategy. So, if you want somebody on the bench that can come on and you want to take a little bit more risk with your third or fourth midfielder or perhaps your third attacker, then yes, Wolves as a third forward or a fifth midfielder, if you're going to buy someone like Neto, will be fantastic. This is provided, this is perfect actually for managers that have Haaland, for example, right? You're not sure whether he starts, just have Neto as your first sub. Great. It's much better compared to a 4.6 million priced Clivert from Bournemouth or So if you have Cunha as your third forward, he sits first on your bench. Yeah, like you've got your Salahs and your Sons who can't play. Yeah, just have them on like now. They're so much better than your Cameron Archers, who, by the way, I don't even know whether we'll start because Cameron Archer is going to be competing with the new forward, Barrington Diaz, who Sheffield United have just signed at left wing. Yeah, I watched that game too. Yeah, I watched the Sheffield United Gillingham game. So that's where we are with Wolves. Just have them like as your last attacker in the lineup while the rest of your squad, is slowly cleared out. Or if you choose to hold TAA or Salah or Son or Haaland throughout their red flag period, yeah, Wolves will tie you over. Wolves will tie you over.
Good job that I'm not starting Cameron Archer this.
Fine, I have Ursula who's going to brace.
Archer's going to nail it. He's going to keep his place. They're not going to bench him.
He's not going to get 90.
Take a point. I'll take 2 points right now. Take it. All right, so the match itself, finally got a clean sheet. Wolves don't have Chan or Neto, maybe not quite up to yet. So I think the goal scoring potential has dropped. Brighton will always attack but risk things at the back. So heavy press for Wolves could always force a mistake because I'm not confident in any Brighton goalkeeper ball playing skills back, especially Bringen. But I do just feel like at home as well, Brighton dominated the game. Wolves try to counter, but have the finish. I see Brighton 2. Ryan, your thoughts on the match?
I was thinking more 1-1/2-1 to Brighton. If it was Wolves at home, I would have flipped the score. But yeah, because it's Brighton at home.
Your analysis, Lucian? We've gone backwards. We usually start with you. We've gone backwards this time. What are your thoughts on?
Favoring Brighton is absolutely logical. I give, no complaints there. Yeah, you guys have my sympathy if Wolves beat Brighton anyway. However, I would like to say that everything hinges down to Estupiñán against Neto on that same flank. I think tactics go out the window in some sense because Brighton are traditionally weak down the right. Wolves do not have a left-sided attacker. Wolves are traditionally weak down the right, but Brighton don't have a left winger. Whereas, when you look at the reverse fixture in game week 1, Neto was actually playing on the left, and he had multiple big chances against Brighton before Mitoma broke through Wolves' right-hand side to score. By I think he dribbled past Semedo or something, and then he had to free run through on goal 1v1. So, yeah, I'm just waiting for that one matchup, where Brighton and Wolves are just hobbling along, fighting with their last limb, arm wrestling, one arm to one arm, and yeah, we'll see how it turns out. Everything comes down to finishing.
Let's move on to Newcastle. And so, can Newcastle bounce back from this form? What's the issue? On the screen, last 5 game weeks, I've put on the stats for defensive stats and also expected XG, expected goals. And Newcastle are rock bottom over the last 5 games. They've conceded the most amount of shots in total. They've conceded the most goals. They've conceded the most amount of shots inside the box. Their XG conceded is way above. So they were expected to concede 19.2. The second worst after that is 12.3 Spurs. They are absolutely way adrift last 5 game week. What the hell's going on with the Magpies? So for me though, can they turn it around? I just put form is temporary, class is permanent. Newcastle had a lot of injuries. I mentioned earlier Newcastle, Brighton, and Chelsea been pretty hit heavy, quite hard with injuries. Leggy, overtired, has been used a lot for them as well, and I think there. But I think it's past. I think the pinnacle of this was the demolition by Liverpool. I know it was 4-2, but it could have been worse. I think 4-2 flatters Newcastle. The next 2 games, after
just quote the XG conceded, Rob. Quote the XG conceded by Newcastle against Liverpool.
Oh, wasn't it 6 or 7 or 7, right? Yeah. So I mean, but even if you take that out of the equation, they're still far off everyone. But I know that's why I said it was a demolition. It could 4-2 flattered them. But after the City game, so first there's no more game. They've got the FA Cup and the Premier League. We've already talked about the good thing for Brighton is the spaced out games. Newcastle have that as well. Players coming back from injury, Newcastle have that as well. So they're starting to get players back. They don't have a clogged schedule anymore where they're in like 4 different competitions and having to play the best team in like the Premier League and the Champions League. And after Villa next week isn't easy, but Villa are a bit of a sticky patch at the moment. After this game, they've only got Arsenal in 26, Spurs in 33, and the whole season is great for Newcastle. The rest of the season. They don't play anyone else, like, major. City, done. Liverpool, done. And they've got Arsenal away in 26, which is a tough one. But even Spurs at home are beatable because they concede goals. I just see them coming back perfectly fine. Players back from injury, having a rest. No more Europe. And I think from game week 23, that's the perfect time to get jumping back on. Obviously not right now, but I think they're going to turn it around. I don't think there's an underlying issue of, get Eddie Howe out, he's rubbish, or the players are all, garbage or anything like that. I just think too much, too tired, too many injuries, and they'll be fine. Game week 23 will be sat here going, oh, I wish I had Trippier, or I wish I had Isaac or Wilson or whoever is not injured as a striker, or Gordon. I want them back in my side from 20. The run is crazy. 2 games in the last 16 is when you wouldn't want to play a Newcastle player. Particularly, you'd happily play them for that many games. Crazy run. Yeah, I think they'll bounce back. They were just tired in too many games. Ryan, what do you think?
I think we all did mention that they needed a break, to be honest, and they've kind of got that break. Now, does that break kind of help for the rest of the fixtures? We kind of have to wait and see. I still think the City game and Villa game, from a clean sheet perspective, not great, but I do still own Trippier, and like you mentioned, the run after that is pretty good. So I'm happy to keep Trippier for that run. I'm just waiting for that, like, after Aston Villa. But I have to start Trippier this week, so that it is what it is because of all the flags. We'll see if their run improves, and if the main reason was the too much fixtures, congestion, and whatnot. We'll have to wait and see. But hopefully they do improve. But City may be a tough game, although with the break, hopefully that could improve and be better. But I think Lucian will mention about all the injuries and players we are yet to see whether they'll feature or not. I think that will be key. Honestly, hard to tell right now. We'll wait and see. But I have hope. At least that's why I've kept the players, but we'll see.
Thoughts then? Newcastle, they're going to turn it around? What's a deeper problem? Or
Well, I think there is most certainly a deeper problem. The idea here is that I think rest will bring certain players back. I just feel that the players that were brought back are still considered injury prone. That's probably my biggest issue. I mean, remember 4 weeks ago when I said to everybody, sell Anthony Gordon? I understand he got that assist against, I don't even know what team that was. It might have been Forest. But beyond that, Gordon has been like very, not to say leggy, but he isn't able to do sprints. Once you've done your hammy, you cannot do sprints. So Gordon's reinvented his game, full credit to him. But that means Newcastle are adjusting again. So my issue right now is that Eddie Howe, despite having a changing squad, is not adjusting his philosophy of his high press and whatnot, and they're just going kamikaze all over teams. And all you need is a player to outrun the entire team, and that's it. Trippier has been the most vulnerable in recent game weeks, and I don't even put that down to injuries. It's just the lack of cover down both their fullback sides. Like you think back, right, to when Son went up against Trippier, right? When Spurs demolished them 4-1. You know, not even an XG problem. You just think to yourself, right? Who is in the right position, the best position to protect Trippier? In theory, with Newcastle's 4-3-3, it should have been their right winger. It could have been Almiron. Nowhere to be seen. Way up there. I think it might have even been like in central midfield. Otherwise, it's going to be someone like Bruno Guimaraes, right? The out-and-out defensive midfielder going across. None of it. Absolutely none of it. Like Newcastle and Trippier are going to continue playing that way. And even if I do foresee Newcastle doing a backs to the wall job again, that you can actually isolate yourself 1v1 against Newcastle and nothing changes. Yeah, you're going to get huge chances. So I do feel that the only sliver of light here is whether Newcastle get attacking returns. And that's why Trippier has been so disappointing, to be honest. Like, bar the clean sheet against Arsenal, where they unexpectedly won 1-0 because Arsenal screwed up, they've not had anything. You know, they've thoroughly deserved to lose their clean sheets against the likes of Luton and Forest and whatnot. Well, maybe not Forest because Chris Wood, wow. But everyone else, yeah. Like, for me, yes, once again, I agree that Newcastle will get players back. Their central midfielder will get stronger, and perhaps someone like Joel Linton, who has been vastly overworked, will get more rest because Joel Linton is actually the one that triggers their entire counter press. It used to be Sandro Tonali until he got suspended, but now Newcastle, right? Fine. You say that he has that game against Man City, which we will all disregard, and then it's like a 2-week break until the FA Cup game against Fulham. So really, Newcastle's official schedule begins on the 31st of Jan. Then you look at the schedule, right? It's 3 days later they play Luton. They probably win against Fulham and they go in through to the next round and they have another February game. And then 11th they play Forest, 17 Bournemouth. So it's still 1 week-ish a game, sprinkled with whatever midweek cup games should Newcastle progress. And I wouldn't say it's safe to rule Newcastle out of the injury woods unless Newcastle play a second string in the cup games. Then I'd go, yes, okay, we're good to go on Newcastle again. Yeah, otherwise we're going to see, Livermento popping up at left back again and we'll be like, oh, this again. Oh, no. I've been burned once. I've learned my lesson. Yeah, so that's where I stand, Yeah, I look forward to the end of January. Then I'll probably look at Newcastle.
The whole defense is back now, and with Wilson out for the next game, I mean, that gets another one. And when Isak's back, I always just push for play both of them. Wilson, Isak, they've done it. They've played don't just, and that doesn't mean shove Isak on the wing. We've seen him play with each other down the middle, and when Wilson comes off the bench, and they smash it. They absolutely not a way for them to go 2 up top, but so let's now turn our eyes to very small on the screen. I don't have Doku for this one, but I did. Alvarez is top. The last 5 game weeks again, Alvarez is top of non-pen involvement, and then it's Foden, Bernardo, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. I forgot I had Bernardo Silva. When I logged out of when I turned off the last one and had like a week off, I opened it up again. I was like, oh, I've got Bernardo Silva in my team. Well, surprise. I chose him over Foden partially because of money and partially because I think Bilva is just as good as Foden. He gets into positions and he reminds me of himself from previous years, but also of Gundogan as being that late person in the box who seemed to get goals. So that's why I went for Bilva. So we're going to talk about with City doubling at some point soon. Not talking about Haaland. Are there any other players that people are going to look? One, a lot of people are backing Foden, but got to keep your eye on what De Bruyne is going to do. People have seen one quote from Pep, and suddenly it's Kevin De Bruyne and Foden in the middle. They're going to be playing next to each other. Foden's going to be great. He's not going to get pushed out to the wing because Pep did one sentence. No, that's not going to. Kevin De Bruyne is the king. He will play where he play, and Foden's going to have to. So I think Bilva's still a great option for that because he won't get affected. It'll be Foden then. But Walker is Mr. Under the Radar for Pep Roulette, because I know Man City keep goals conceded is always like the lowest, but they always seem to concede those stupid goals. Like I've had Edison like so much of last season and seasons before because of the great defense, but they always concede a goal. But Walker is, I know against Sheffield United he got 67 minutes, but he got 8, not a problem. But he's played 90 minutes for the entire season. He's played 90 minutes every game this season. A Manchester City player has played 90 minutes for 18 because they had the blank, okay? For 18 matches.
Oh, bar the last game, I think.
Because that's the 19th game.
Yeah.
And it was against Sheffield United, and he came off early. He started and got the clean sheet and came off. So for 18 matches, you've got a Man City player who played 90. That isn't Edison. That's mad. That is flying way under the Pep radar. So potentially looking at Walker might be because that blew my mind when I looked at that and I thought, wow, the Man City player who's basically not including Sheffield United, where you can bring player off early because it's Sheffield United home, and you didn't look. You could have played that game till now, and this Sheffield United still wouldn't have scored. So that's fine. I think Walker's a good one potentially. I'm happy with Bilva or Bernardo Silva. I think Foden's fine, but Kevin De Bruyne is going to affect it. And one comment of Pep saying that they can play next to each other together or whatever it said is not going to make Foden suddenly a great pick. I never thought he was a fit because he hasn't been for years. Fantastic footballer. Remember, we're not talking about his football ability here. We're talking about FPL potential. And I still don't rate him that highly. Yeah. But Walker is my little cheeky one in there, especially if you're looking at getting rid of Trent and you don't want to go to Estepinian. And he's not that much more expensive. Estepinian's back up at 5 million and Walker's 5.4. Just if Man City can keep those clean sheets, which they haven't been able to. Ryan, any City players that you're looking at? Not
So
Haaland?
just like you, I've already got Bernardo Silva as well. Just because I couldn't, if I went for Foden last week, I wouldn't have been able to afford Haaland. That was the main reason. And I'm happy. I mean, okay, yes, he didn't do anything. He had that one chance where he probably should have scored last week, but I'm okay to own him. And I've seen Lucian's comments that's coming later with regards to Bernardo Silva, so I'm optimistic, I would say, cautiously optimistic. With Walker, I think end of the day, he is a City captain, and I feel like there was that whole contract issue and getting sold issue and all of that. I feel like Pep is kind of playing him every game. Maybe there was something in the contract. I have no idea. But the thing with Walker and City defense in general is, there is always that nagging feeling that Ederson will do something to just mess this up in the last few minutes of the game, and then they lose their clean sheet. That's the main reason why I'm just not interested with City defense. Just because of the City, Aston Villa, all like good defensive numbers, just don't see the same numbers in terms of clean sheets that come in. But still, good, decent option. KDB has come out himself and said that he's not expecting to play 90 minutes. Yet there are 500,000 plus transfers this week and a price rise, even though the man hasn't played a single minute in the last 19 game weeks. He's already had a price rise and 500,000 transfers in this week. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think you don't have to be first to the KDB party. You can take your time and wait and see what happens and then go into KDB if people really want to go and get KDB. But yeah, that's it.
I'm going to get into price rises. I was trying to investigate that a week or two ago, and it's so funny because I don't know if it's a hobby you're into or if it's FPL thing. If you have when I gave my ideas about price rise, I'm like, why is Haaland not going down? Why are these? What is people answer so certain? They'll be like, obviously that's why they got the algorithm, okay? But the websites aren't always correct. Estepinian was supposed to rise like 2 or 3 days ago, Oh, it's man-made. It's man-manipulated. Okay, so who's making that decision? Why are they making that? Oh, it's done on popularity and percentage of ownership. Okay, Haaland went from 90% ownership to 50% ownership. That's not price drop. If a player goes from 2% to 1% and technically dropped half of the players, is that people are so certain? Like, no, this is it, and they're all different, and they're all so sure. So Lucian, you're about Man City when you said you were selling Liverpool players and that. Are Man City players on your mind?
First of all, I like to put it out there. People are only buying KDB because he's the easiest way to get back to Salah. I think that's one of the most convenient reasons to own KDB.
They just see the price and know it's KDB and just get him back. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair move in the sense that, you know, in the end, when you want to bring Salah back, you need a scapegoat. You're not gonna, engineer a way to somehow turn your 4.5 million cheapie to Mohamed Salah. It's a huge jump. I mean, I wouldn't even say that I really, somehow scrummaged 11 million, out of nowhere just to turn my 4.5 million forward into Haaland. It wasn't easy at all, I made a lot of calculated moves, and like Salah to Palmer was a huge one that I had to commit to. So, yeah, and I feel that I want to justify KDB's selection that way. But for me, yes, Man City itself is a mystery, not because Man City themselves are good or bad or, defy whatever stats have you. For me, it's just the fact that City right now are not offering anything new competitively. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Philosophically, City usually revolutionize something. They usually do something so crazy and so regularly, and they stick by it so well that even if it doesn't work the first 10 game weeks, they somehow nail it for the remaining 28. And then they become unstoppable. For me, that's what's happened. The John Stones injury has ruined their plan A so badly to the point that they've just reverted to their game plans from 2 seasons ago. And that's why they've struggled to win matches, honestly. The fact that they sold Gundogan meant that they've committed to the new strategy, and the fact that nobody's attempted to even replicate the Gundogan role, despite having the likes of Alvarez and Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden even able to play that role easily, means that City are like going, okay, you know what, we're gonna go hands off, refer to a few, bring back a few old boy band songs, right? Sing a few in-sync oldies and get everyone jumping again. I watched Trolls recently. It's a brilliant movie. So I think that's where City are right now. And if you're gonna own City, you're gonna have to be optimistic that they will score 3-4 goals a game. Not against Newcastle, but after Newcastle when they have that decent run, you are expecting them to thrash a few teams. Not everyone, but at least a few teams. You have the odd 5-1 against Fulham or the 6-0, probably against Everton or Sheffield United or Burnley, something realistic like that. And for me, that's where I want to jump on to triple Man City attack. I don't care who. You can do Foden, Haaland, Bernardo Silva. You can, as long as you have 3 Man City players with attacking threat. Normally, I'd say Kyle Walker has attacking threat, but based on what I've seen in recent weeks, the left, either Nathan Ake or Josko Gvardiol, has been actually making really good runs, like down that left side, ahead of Grealish and Doku or Doku. So I do feel that Pep's using his right to create for his left. And that's why even the likes of Bernardo Silva has drifted over to the left instead of create from the right side. So I do feel for people who did buy Bernardo Silva, especially for that Sheffield United game, I fully backed that eye test. And Bernardo Silva from the flank did get into really good positions, as Rob pointed out, as various people pointed out. Yeah, Bernardo's just that hockey assist guy when he needs to be. It's just such a shame. Yeah, because I've got Foden right now. I will gladly buy Haaland in a heartbeat when he's ready, and I will even own Julian Alvarez if I need to. I'm absolutely happy to do so. Like for this particular period when we don't have Son and Salah. that would be my plan A strategy for the coming just 4 game weeks. And when Salah comes back, we'll look at everything again.
I think Alvarez is a hold and Foden is a hold until we know what KDB is going to decide, because Alvarez is still top of the charts for attacking numbers, but we just don't know who's going to make way, who's going to wide. You know, I've said for a long time, like, Haaland with Doku, I don't like it because Doku's selfish and he goes for the shot. But when Grealish plays, like, his job is to something on a plate to Haaland. Just don't necessarily. It always feels like Doku's the one who they play against weaker sides because of direct run when they want to hold the ball. Grealish is the one. And what's the knock-on effect to the rest of the team with Bilver? Like, I think Bilver plays. Bilver again is just a guy that's just probably going to play wherever Pep will play him left back if he wants, because he's so key. Yeah, but triple attack. Be wary about De Bruyne's return and always be Pep led. So going into the match then, so we'll go in a normal order of Lucian first about Newcastle at home.
I think I'm going to start with the straightforward arguments. I leave it to you guys whether you want to expand on them, because I do feel that they're a gimme. The only unfortunate thing is that they don't involve heavily owned assets that are relevant right now. A very good example is, whoever plays on the left. Could be Doku, could be Grealish, could be Bernardo Silva for all we know, against Kieran Trippier. That I've banged on about it enough. And so I'm just going to move on to how City are going to win games, because I think nobody really knows, right? I think City themselves have flown under the radar so quietly that we've just been so distracted by KDB's luscious hair after taking tips from Jack Grealish, to the point where we're like, how do City win games? How do City even keep clean sheets? Nobody genuinely knows. Like, I've looked through my notes literally all the way back to game week 1, and all I can tell is that City, when they smash teams, for some odd reason, they tend to score a set-piece goal through a defender on the cusp of half-time. That's the only consistent thing I see. But they're not the side that keeps 90% possession and tires you out. They're not the side that bullies you anymore through Haaland. They're not the side that uses wits to pull you apart and then suddenly hit you in the half spaces. They're not having weird players pop up in unexpected positions anymore. Yeah, it all started with how their original plan A that I've brought up on Ryan's podcast before, right? The whole playing Ederson as a centre back strategy. I'm not even going to go into the numbers, but when you play Ederson as part of your back four, right, you're taking a lot of risk, and it's quite clear that some teams have even copied it, right? I think Man United, Chelsea have all tried ball-playing goalkeepers to emulate the same strategy. It's not caught on. So City will go back to the drawing board, and right now it looks like City will just use one of their most tactically flexible players, be it Foden or Bernardo Silva, and just use him to overload one area, and that's enough. You get like the 1-goal lead, and then you wait until the stroke of halftime to see if that advantage builds. If it doesn't build, you win 3-1, maybe 4-2, something like that. But if you do go into like a 3-0 lead at halftime, you're going to go on to win like 5-1. So for me, the biggest weakness that I feel we should talk about more often is Newcastle's aggression. There is going to be so much pressure through the Newcastle fans to like cheer their team on, to build on the derby victory, to press Man City into submission. And I'm just really curious to see if you guys believe that Man City will just, hit them on a counter punch, get someone to run behind the Newcastle defense and score, or do you think they'll just weather the storm and be overwhelmed? City are not that good at handling high press, right? Arsenal have dispossessed them. Brighton have done it on a couple of times. I think even Liverpool have used the high press relatively well to dispossess some City midfielders. So yeah, I think we should begin there.
So, why do you think the aggression is the problem for?
when they do it well, they themselves control the game and they just run over teams and score lots and lots of goals. When they don't do it well, I mean, their high counter press can easily beat the likes of PSG. But when it's not done well, they can easily lose to the likes of Luton. That's how big of a difference it is.
Yeah, just if they're on an off day or the other team has just got the tactics right, it's easily our chip. I think outside of this game, I feel as though this will be a key game for Newcastle because now they've had that time to rest and reconfigure. And even though they're against the best team, and this is going to put them back on the map of we're rested, we're rejuvenated, we've got key players back, and going to play well. And if they do well, that'll set them straight for the rest of the season. Like I said, there's only really, they play United and Chelsea, but I don't really class them as really tough fixtures. I only class sort of Arsenal and Spurs in that one. And that'll, I think, now they've had a rest and a chance to sort of get over the bad run they've been on. If they come back strong in this, that'll set them for the season and they'll charge and aim for the top 4 again. But another drubbing and then weeks to stew on that drubbing. Like if it's another 7xG situation and Man City absolutely dismantled them at home as well in Newcastle, gonna be, Newcastle fans are some of the most passionate in the land. Never like the huge fan base, massive passion. But when things aren't going right and you're on like a 4, 5, 6 game poor performance, poor result streak, that 50, 60,000 strong Magpie army voice starts to become a negative than a positive. Similar to how I feel about Manchester United and Old Trafford. When they're playing well, the fans are with them and everything's great and they're forward. But when things are not going quite so well, the home game becomes like an away game, or even worse than an away game because all the fans are just telling you how rubbish you are. So I think in the a grander scale of it, this will be a really important one for Newcastle because come out with their heads held high in this game, that'll set them straight for the rest of the season. In terms of the game itself, I think it's just going to be another Man City dominating possession and Newcastle looking. It's going to be just pass until snap. Newcastle will just hold the line and try to break away. That's what happened when City only beat them 1-0 at Manchester City. And Newcastle, similar to how Manchester United felt, I think, when they went to Newcastle, they just didn't try. I don't want to say they didn't try hard enough, but they didn't threaten enough. They sat back too much and let City have the ball for too much that they never ended up breaking out. Just ended up being a straightforward victory. So I don't think Newcastle will accept. But they've just gone and beaten their arch rivals as well, which is always a huge Sunderland FA Cup. That'll spur on the fans and the players again to get another win under the belt, a comfortable win against really passionate match for Tyneside Derby. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be 2-1 City. City always concede. Newcastle can always threaten on a break because they've got fast players, but also quality on the break or something from set piece. Players in even Isaac as a forward is strong in the. Yeah, that's how I think it's going to go. City, just a normal City dominating possession, passing it around, being pretty boring unless press. But like Lucian said, if they're too aggressive, City will pick them up. And if they're anything like they have been in the last 5 game weeks, City will. And it'll just be a matter of. Ryan?
I think City will probably win this one. And like you mentioned, the question will be, is it a comfortable win for City or is it a hard-fought win for City? Because if it's a hard-fought win, that means it gives you a bit of hope into terms of like Newcastle could improve in the upcoming fixtures. if they've got hammered, then it's a bit of a problem, and then we kind of have to reassess and see whether is this Newcastle team going to like fall off even with the upcoming good fixture run, or can they bounce back from this? So we'll have to wait and see on that. That's the one thing that I kind of want to see from Newcastle. If they win, then I mean, there'll be tails up going into the game against Aston Villa as well. So will be a very interesting one to see. From City point of view, I think the main thing that I would want to know, at least before the game, is if Haaland is fit or not, because that could dictate captaincy as well for me. That's basically where I'm at.
I know Lucian pinpointed Bernardo potentially going past the Newcastle counter press, but I do also want to point out, and I don't, he's great in FPL, and he don't get why teams, and he was exploited by Nottingham Forest, don't get why more teams don't exploit Dan Burn. Like, he's a 6'7" left back who is as fast as you imagine he would be for someone who's 6'7". Like, if now this has like Grealish playing fantasy football lineup, and I think Lucian, you said like it's Doku or Grealish against Trippier, but personally, I might look like, but I'm definitely not. I would be really thinking about smacking Doku against Dan Burn and just being like, go dribble, go run, go use that pace, and just leave Burn in the dust. If you've got, I don't think Kevin De Bruyne will start this game. I think it's too early. So let's just say it's Phil Foden or Bernardo Silva. They see Doku on the wing. He can give Dan Burn 2 yards. I know now Man City's philosophy is like the tick-attacker when they've got the ball. Do not lose that ball. Like, if you give that ball away, you're getting punished. Pull you off. Made him like just a missed pass. So sometimes it feels like Man City won't make a risky pass. They'll just go back and they'll reset and they'll do it again, because their number one rule is we must keep this ball. If we don't have this ball, someone's made a mistake. Someone's given it away. Unless you've had a shot and the goalkeeper saved it. And yeah, you made a mistake because you didn't score, but they will make fewer risky passes unless they're losing, because their style is the ball is out. That's why, much as I love football and as much as I appreciate Man City, especially if they're like winning 1-0, I struggle to pay attention. When Ake passes it to Diaz, passes it to Guardiola, passes it to Edison, passes it to Walker, back to Diaz, back to Walker, back to Ake, and I just can't. Like, I'm not excited by it. Sorry, it's the truth. Now, when Man City do attack and they do put some more risky passes, they're a joy to watch. They're the best team in the world. But from a football fan point of view, they're not amazing to watch in that. But if they were just doing a little touch riskier to play the ball over the top of Dan Burn's head, Botman's not the fastest to cover that either. I just see that as a potential. Like, why would you not put Doku against Dan Burn? Because I think it absolutely. He was massacred. He was taken off just too late for one of the Nottingham Forest goals, because they were already going to make that early sub. And wasn't it Livramento that they brought on for Burn? So yeah. I know Burn is in this lineup, but again, Eddie Howe might counter this. This is a predicted lineup. I think Livramento will play over Dan Burn because of the pace. If you see Doku in that lineup, Dan Burn might be off after 10 minutes because Doku's going to destroy. Anyway, captaincy to finish off with. Cole Palmer, ice cold Palmer, is on the screen. He currently has the armband for me. He's got Fulham at home. When it comes down to, it could be anyone for captaincy. I prefer leaning towards midfielders because they get more points than forwards for goals, and they get a potential clean sheet point as well. So when everything's up in the air, and we said earlier, Haaland, Son, Salah, the three most popular players, the one who are always captained, are out. Haaland might be back, but just off what we know right now, those three are out. So it's absolute Wild West. It's absolutely open. I think he's got the form, he's got the fixture. The fact he's a midfielder, he gets an extra clean sheet point if you get a clean sheet, extra point for goals if he gets a goal. I think he's got a higher ceiling. Watkins is my second choice, but he's away at Everton. And Everton's tough for most. I know United, we can say, fortunately beat them 3-0, but Goodison Park is not a good place to go. Everton at home, I think, wouldn't they be like 7th if they didn't get the minus points, or 8th or something like that? Like, I know they'd be Everton would be top 10 if they didn't have the points to do. So in terms of actual quality, Everton are in the top 10. So I know the sort of lower to mid to lower table now because minus points, but they're actually a top 10 side. And at home, they are
Slightly below, but yeah, almost there.
about 10th.
They'll be 12th because Wolves and Chelsea are like 2 points above them, but that's basically it.
Usually, like if we could pull up the home and away record as well, we've talked about their XG at home being massive compared to away. Like away, their XG is terrible, but at home it's ridiculously high. I just think that's and with Villa being a little bit iffy recently, then I just think Palmer's the way. Lucian?
Well, for me, I mean, okay, so I'm gonna start with where I was last night this morning at I'm gonna whisper this part because my wife's just outside. Early this morning at an godforsaken time. I was hanging out with the Net Hall boys while they were doing their matchup shows. Guess who's top of the captaincy matrix? Right, our boy there. And for me, it's about overperformance because the only reason Palmer's up there right now is because he is just overperforming everything expected of him despite putting up good stats. So you're just asking yourself, right? Is this a sign of skill, genuine skill? And Cole Palmer is basically one of the best under 21 players in the world. Or is he about to hit a regression because he's hit his high? This is how we as people who read data really are tested, because it is this very point where we ask ourselves whether overperformance from this point on will regress or will it continue to stay afloat until something changes. For me, it stays the same for now because I think Chelsea used the 2 cup games, right? They had an FA Cup game against Preston North End and they had a League Cup game against Borough where they lost to basically verify that against Preston North End, they had Broya play the number 9, 2 wingers, and they just smashed it 4-0. Palmer had, plenty of big chances, couldn't finish, but whatever.
Huge.
And against Borough, against Borough, Palmer played the number 9 and it was just like, nope, not at all. So almost certain that if Chelsea want to do well, get results, and have Palmer continue to deliver, there it is. The formula's right there. My only concern is that it doesn't happen for 90 minutes because Chelsea technically have a lot of depth. Even with Jackson gone, they still have a lot of depth in attack. And yeah, it just comes down to how experimental Poch wants to be. But like beyond that minor factor, I rate that much higher than Villa away from home. Arsenal, I think Odegaard is the only one that concerns me. But I won't Odegaard, so not many people do. I'm quite glad about that. Yeah. I literally cannot name anyone else I'd love for captain's candidacy beyond a half-fit Haaland.
Brian, captaincy?
Yeah, bus captain is on Palmer. After watching the Fulham versus Liverpool highlights, the one thing I took away from that game is Fulham was just horrible centrally. And I guess that's where Palmer operates. So hopefully can get something from it. But then again, if Haaland is fit and we get leaks that he's starting, I am bringing Haaland in and capping him. Is probably where I'm at. But if for those who, because I know people are thinking of like Saka or someone else Game Week 21 is over 2 weeks. So what I would recommend is have a strong vice captaincy shout, because we never know. Arsenal's game is like next week, not this week. So we never know what's going to happen next week. So best to always have a strong vice captaincy, especially in this game week. But yeah, Palmer busting.
I think it's people might suggest Foden. What about Saka, Erdegaard? I mean, Lucian, you have Erdegaard.
Both.
Saka and Erdegaard.
Yeah, for weeks I've had.
Are they not swaying you there?
Not based on performance.
They're not even in your consideration at home to Crystal Palace.
No, I'm just having them there to get lucky. I'm literally playing the old school FPL game of putting myself in a position to get lucky. Really. Yeah.
Right. Then I think that's it for this. Always feels like we have a pop at Fulham when Combs in the chat. I've always thought like he comes in, it's like way early in the season when I talked about potentially triple captain Haaland against him and how bad Fulham are, and that he was there like, I'm a fan. Again, it's not against Fulham. I like Fulham. Raul Jimenez back on, which is great. I was one of the people who congratulated him when he took away my Matty Cash clean sheet when he finally scored after all that time. Jenny's thinking of going Erdegaard. Oh, because when we strongly agree on captaincy, it goes wrong. Absolutely facts coming out of TN there. When we all think, yeah, this is the week for this captaincy, 100% end up. Palmer's gonna go off after 22 minutes injured. After a yellow card for no points. Whilst I don't know, Hisselwood for Brighton's going to score a hat-trick or something. Just before we go, K7, we said Palmer. I think it's a easy Palmer pick for us. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We will be back next week, I think. But we'll have a chat about it, see how... because it's a weird situation where when we make content, we want to make it like relevant and we think really want to discuss and talk about. But the fact that next week is still this week, game week, we would just be. We'll talk about it. We'll tweet about it, but potentially it might be in 2 weeks. We'll let you guys know. These are all our Twitter/X handles underneath, so shoot us all a follow. You can catch Ryan's own shows of Scout the Game Week and your streams. They don't have they're just general streams, right? They don't have a series name. Deadline stream.
You can catch. No, I have like a deadline stream and everything.
Yeah.
On my channel, but yeah, Football Chat Box.
Yeah.
Apart from that, like and subscribe here.
That'd be great. And Lucian does, especially on Twitter/X, his like weekly roundup threads where he'll pinpoint specific plays or weaknesses or strengths from certain matches that I've seen. So, for example, I used one in this stream earlier when he pinpointed Estepinian getting ripped apart by Stoke City. So if you want some more in-depth analysis for specific players and plays, tactics, then shoot him a follow on. And I'll just throw out rubbish and opinions on
beef.
It's not beef, it's strong opinion. And feel free to debate me. Like, I never block people for disagreeing with me. It's only when people are grossly inappropriate to me, like saying things like I hope I die or horrible things like that. Like even that I can take it. Like just family out. But yeah, feel free to disagree, and we all disagree here. We've all got the great thing about FPLIQ, in my opinion. One of the great things about this team is all four of us. Tien's not here, but Ryan and Lucian and myself, like we have completely different play styles and ideas and different teams. We're not all sat here with the same team, the same 11, the same 15 or whatever. We all have different styles and tactical plans, and there's something for. But yeah, any likes and subscribes would be thanks for joining us this week. We'll let you know if we're back next week or the week after, depending on how this game week goes. And if we get definite news about all these doubles and blanks and stuff, then we'll have things that we talk about. Until then, thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.